Hi guys, and welcome to the TruGolf Academy. You've joined me, Jon Watts, today at Drayton Park Golf Club. I'm in my swing studio and today's video is all going to be about tee height with your driver. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is hit 3 different drives. Unless I hit any bad ones, maybe I'll hit one more, but I'm going to hit it off 3 different tee heights. So I'm going to start on the lowest, go to the middle and go to the highest. It's a question I get a lot, what tee height should I use? And I just don't think there's one answer for everybody. So what I'm going to show you is what difference it makes to my angle of attack and my strike location. For me, the most important part about tee height is that we hit the ball out the center of the golf club. Now I teach good players who tee the ball, a full ball above the club, and I teach some very good players who tee it a little lower and you can probably only see a quarter of the ball. We generally say half the ball showing above the top of the club, so half the ball below. But it really does depend on your method and your swing. I've got one good golfer I teach who actually weirdly launches it higher from a lower tee position. He just strikes the ball a little bit better. So it does vary golfer to golfer. The best thing to do is put some face tape on the golf club or some foot spray where you can see the strike location, and actually then start to adjust the tee height to see where or what tee height you need to get the ball out the center of the golf club. For maximum energy transfer from club to ball, we want the ball striking the center. If we're going to be either way, the ball is better hitting a slightly higher, slightly above the CG location on the golf club, so slightly higher, because that's going to give us a higher launch angle and a lower backspin when the CG location of the golf ball strikes above the CG location of the golf club. So it gives us a higher launch and a lower spin. And if we're going to be either way, we're better being slightly nearer the toe of the golf club because the toe is moving quicker than the heel. And we're more likely to impart an axis tilt to the left for a right-handed golfer, so more a draw spin if you like. So slightly high, slightly toe is much better than low heel, but the middle is what we're really aiming for to maximize our energy transfer club to ball. So these 3 tee heights I've got are going up by 1 centimeter, 10 mil each time. So I'm starting with the shortest, then to the middle, which is the one I would normally use, and then to the highest. I'm going to try and hit them without adapting, without trying to change my setup position around it. Because for me, what actually really happens when you tee the ball higher is I will find golfers will compensate for that by tilting behind the golf ball more. So for me, it's not how high we're teeing it, it's how we're actually setting ourselves at address. And I think when you get someone off a higher tee, automatically they'll start tilting a little bit more behind it. If that is something that would be good in your golf swing, then that's a fantastic thing. When you get the elite golfers, the tour players, what you'll see is they'll tee the ball a little lower when they're perhaps trying to fade it, because it's going to encourage them to maybe hit a little bit more down on it, and they'll feel like they're swinging down and left for a right-handed golfer. And if they want to hit a draw, they'll perhaps tee it a little bit higher and feel that they're a little bit more behind it, and the club is swinging a little bit more from in to out, so it's more up and right. So I think for the better golfers, they'll actually change the tee height depending on the shape and the shot they're really looking for, and potentially where the wind is as well. For a lot of us, I think golfers want something that's consistent, that they know they put a castle tee in and it's always this height. But find out what's right for you. See where the strike location's coming from. Find out what your fault is. If you are fading and slicing and hitting down on the ball, then actually practicing off a higher tee peg and encouraging you to stay behind it and hit more in to out would be a really good thing. If you're a player where you already swing too much in to out and you're struggling with big hooks and blocks, then teeing a little bit lower may encourage you to stay a little bit more on top of it and stop that club getting trapped behind you. So I don't think there is one rule for every golfer. I vary it depending on the golfer that I'm coaching, but I'm going to, just as I said, try as much as possible to not compensate, not change my setup position, and just see what the results tell us about strike location, angle of attack, if they do change at all. So this, as I said, is the lowest of the 3 tee heights. Pretty good ball flight. It was a little bit toey, but we'll see that on the screen. I'll definitely take it in terms of direction. It started right, drew left, not bad distance. It was a little down on carry, but it didn't feel fantastic in terms of the strike. So let's go for the middle tee. And this is, as I said, where I'd normally be. Trying to keep the same setup as much as possible. That felt better in the club face from bottom to top, but actually rather than the last one that felt a little toey, that felt a little bit out of the heel. And let's just hit one more before we have a quick look at them with the highest tee. So this is 2 centimeters, 20 mil higher than I started at. Let's have a little look at those numbers. Right, so I launched it the lowest with the lowest tee. The next two are pretty similar. My highest was actually with the middle tee height, but it was missing target right, so I added a little loft on dynamically. The last one was a slightly different shape, as you can see, compared to the first couple. Angle of attack, so vertical path here. I hit up on the golf ball by 1.6 degrees off the lowest tee. Oh, didn't mean to click on that. 1.6 degrees upwards on the lowest tee, and then off the middle tee and the highest tee, I hit 2.6, an extra degree on the way up. Remember, I wasn't trying to compensate at all, as much as possible. What I find is you get golfers off a higher tee, they'll automatically be tilting a little bit more behind it. My swing path didn't really change. I was half a degree out to in off the lowest tee peg, and I was in to out by 0.1 off the mid and 0.3 off the highest. So actually that's probably the more interesting part of it, is I swung more in to out off a higher tee and more out to in off a lower tee. Given it only changed by a degree from one end to the other, so it wasn't huge figures. But as I said, if you are a natural fader, a slicer, teeing it higher may work really well for you to encourage this upward angle attack and more of a draw path. Whereas if you're really trying to find more fairways and you're already generating a lot of speed and you're better with a fade shape because you're normally hitting blocks and hooks, teeing it low would encourage a less of an upward angle of attack, maybe even a downward angle, and the path I think you'd start to see, because you're a little bit more on top of it, going a little bit more out to in or a little bit more left of target. Dynamic loft on the golf club, it was a degree higher when I went to the higher tee peg. The highest was actually in the middle one, but remember the club face was open. Really quickly, I just want to show strike location. So this is the lowest tee, and I still actually hit it plenty high enough out the head. It was just a bit out the toe. Good strike, it did feel better. I just obviously left that face a little bit open on that middle one, but strike location was pretty much perfect. That's where I feel the most comfortable. And it was still pretty good off the high tee. So you wouldn't say that the strike location varied when the tee height varied. One was a little bit toey, and the others were pretty central, but I don't think that had a huge amount to do with the tee peg there. So it's not as easy as, well, I'll tee it higher and I'll hit it higher out the golf club. This is really a case of you getting on the driving range, the practice area, putting some tape on there, some spray on the face so you can see strike location and see what works for you. I would think more about where your good and your bad shot is, where your miss, your destructive shot comes from. As I said, if you're a right-handed golfer like me and you're struggling with the club too much inside, hitting big blocks and hooks, teeing it lower could be a really good thing for you. If you are someone who is an out-to-win fader slicer, practicing off a higher tee peg would encourage you to stay a little bit more behind it and swing a little bit more in to out. I wouldn't necessarily take that to the course straight away without practicing it, because you may just find you pop under a few of them and strike them too high out of the head, or sky your driver. So potentially, if that is you, a fader slicer, put some tape just on the top of the driver head. If you're a good golfer and you're just looking at what's best for you, depending on the hole, think about whether you're wanting to draw or fade it. The lower you tee it, the more I think you're encouraging yourself to hit this lower fade. Teeing it high is going to encourage you to hit more of this draw shape. But it's not quite so simple as everybody should tee it half the ball above the top of the golf club. Yes, that's what we'll tell beginner golfers, just to get something consistent. But if you've been playing a little bit longer, actually look at your strike location and look at where your good and your bad shot go. I hope that video helps. I hope that gives you a bit of an idea. For me, as I said, strike location bottom to top didn't change, even though the tee height did. What I'll find is when I tee the ball higher, I'll tend to tilt a little bit more behind it. Give it a go. Let me know how you get on. Do post some comments and questions below. If you enjoyed the content of the video, give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel for all the other content every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 5:30. And check us out on all our social media info. Hopefully it's coming along the bottom of the screen right now for you. Thanks guys, we'll see you soon.